They said she had ice in her veins and gold where her heart should be. Every employee at the towering glass building on Westbridge Avenue knew better than to make eye contact with her. Madison Vale, the youngest self-made billionaire in the city, was known for her sharp tongue, ruthless decisions, and complete lack of mercy. She could fire an entire department before breakfast and host a charity gala by lunch, all while wearing that same emotionless expression that made people tremble. But no one knew the reason behind her frost. No one had ever dared to look past it until one man did. If you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Touch of Kindness. Because sometimes the hardest hearts are the ones that once cared the most. It was a bright Monday morning when the story began to change. The city buzzed with movement, cars honking, street vendors shouting, and sunlight reflecting off skyscrapers. At the foot of Vale Industries, a man in a faded blue shirt stood with his little daughter. His name was Ryan Carter, a single dad struggling to make ends meet after losing his wife 3 years earlier. He wasn't rich, not even close, but what he lacked in money, he made up for in resilience. That morning, he was there to interview for a janitorial contract. It wasn't glamorous, but it could mean stability for him and his 7-year-old daughter, Lucy. Ryan took a deep breath as he looked at the tall building, whispering to his daughter, "Wait right here, sweetheart. Daddy won't be long." Lucy, clutching her worn teddy bear, smiled and nodded. Her smile was pure sunshine in the concrete chaos. Inside, the lobby was sleek and cold, white marble floors, chrome finishes, and the distant click of heels echoing like raindrops. When Ryan was called into the conference room, he stood nervously, holding his proposal papers with trembling hands. Across the long glass table sat Madison Vale herself, looking every bit. The legend people whispered about, elegant, sharp, and distant. Her expression was unreadable as her cold grey eyes scanned him like he was a report that needed editing. "So," she said curtly, not looking up from her tablet, "you think your small cleaning company can handle Vale Tower?" Ryan swallowed hard. "Yes, ma'am. I've been managing commercial spaces for the past 5 years. My team may be small, but we're thorough, and I personally oversee every contract." Madison finally looked up. "You're late," she said. Ryan froze. I arrived on time. The receptionist told me to wait." She cut him off. "I don't care whose fault it is. In my world, late means unreliable." Her tone was sharp as glass. "This city is full of people who think hard work excuses incompetence. It doesn't." Ryan's pulse quickened, but he steadied himself. He had faced worse. He'd watched his wife take her last breath. He'd comforted a crying daughter with empty pockets. He could handle this. "With respect, Miss Vale," he said firmly, "sometimes people are late because they're trying to do everything at once, because they don't have anyone else to help. But that doesn't make them unreliable. It makes them human." The room went silent. Madison's brows drew together ever so slightly, as if no one had ever dared speak to her that way. For a fleeting moment, something flickered in her eyes, surprise, maybe even pain, but it vanished just as quickly. "Thank you for your time, Mr. Carter," she said flatly. "We'll be in touch." He nodded, gathered his papers, and left, but Madison didn't turn back to her work right away. She stared at the closed door for a long while, remembering a voice from her past, a softer voice that used to say the same words. "People aren't weak, Maddie. They're just tired, don't forget that." It was her mother's voice, long gone now, buried under years of betrayal and greed. That night, as rain tapped softly against the tall windows of her penthouse, Madison found herself thinking about the man with the worn-out shoes and the brave eyes. Something about the way he stood up to her stirred something she hadn't felt in years: respect. The next morning she reviewed his file again. His proposal was modest but honest. No exaggerations, no fancy language, just a man trying to do his best. On impulse, she signed the approval line. When Ryan received the call that his company had been chosen, he couldn't believe it. "You mean, we got the contract?" he asked, stunned. It felt like a miracle. That one decision changed everything. Over the following weeks, Ryan and his small crew worked tirelessly at Vale Tower. He was punctual, meticulous, and always polite. even when Madison passed him in the halls with barely a nod. But what she didn't realize was that every time she saw him, she found it harder to maintain that icy facade. One afternoon, Lucy came to the building with a small lunchbox in her hands. "Daddy forgot his sandwich," she said shyly to the receptionist. Madison, stepping out of the elevator, overheard her. Something softened in her expression as she looked at the little girl with big brown eyes and messy pigtails. "Your dad works here?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," Lucy said proudly. "He cleans the big offices. He says even the prettiest places need someone to take care of them." That line hit Madison like a whisper to her soul, because no one had ever taken care of her, not since her mother's death and her father's betrayal, when the man who'd raised her sold their family company behind her back. Since then, Madison had built walls so high that kindness couldn't reach her. Until now. The next day, she stopped Ryan in the corridor. "Mr. Carter," she said, her tone gentler than before, "your daughter is very articulate." He smiled cautiously. "Thank you. She's my everything." Madison hesitated, then said quietly, "You're doing a good job raising her. Alone." It was the first compliment she'd given anyone in years. From that moment, something began to change. Madison started observing him, not with arrogance but curiosity. She watched how he spoke to others, how he treated even the lowest staff with respect. He never complained, never demanded recognition, and every time Lucy's laughter echoed through the halls when she visited, Madison's heart thawed a little more. One sunny afternoon, Lucy was waiting in the lobby when a group of executives walked past, muttering that kids don't belong in a corporate building. Madison, hearing them, stopped in her tracks. She turned sharply toward them and said, "That child belongs here more than most adults I know. She brings light into this place. Try learning from her." The stunned executives quickly dispersed, and Madison crouched down to hand Lucy a piece of chocolate from her own bag, a gesture so out of character that even the receptionist blinked in disbelief. Word spread quickly the rudest billionaire in town had defended a janitor's daughter. Something inside Madison was awakening, something she thought she'd buried forever. But change is never without its tests. One evening, a board member confronted her during a meeting. "Miss Vale," he sneered, "I hear you've been spending time chatting with cleaning staff. That's not exactly good optics for our brand." Madison's cold gaze returned, but this time it wasn't out of anger, it was out of conviction. "If treating people like human beings damages our brand," she said firmly, "then it's the brand that needs cleaning, not the floors." The room went silent. For the first time, her staff saw not a ruthless leader, but a strong one, someone unafraid to lead with both power and compassion. Weeks turned into months, and Madison and Ryan's interactions became more personal. He never treated her like a billionaire, never flattered her or feared her. He spoke to her as an equal, as someone still learning how to heal. She found herself smiling again, sometimes even laughing, a sound she had forgotten. One afternoon, Ryan noticed her standing by the window, staring down at the city. "You ever think about taking a break?" he asked. Madison's lips curved faintly. "I wouldn't know what to do with one." "Then start small," he said. "Come to the park this Saturday. Lucy's having her school play. She'd love for you to come." Madison almost declined, but something in his eyes made her say yes. That Saturday, under the bright afternoon sun, Madison sat on a wooden bench in a simple white blouse and jeans. No assistants, no cameras, just her. When Lucy saw her in the crowd, she ran up and hugged her like an old friend. And as the little girl sang her part in the play, Madison felt tears she hadn't shed in decades streaming down her face. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and warmth, the walls inside her finally crumbled. After the show, she told Ryan softly,